Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Local Grit, where we talk about small businesses in Hamilton. My name is Alex Hobcraft, and I am here with Chris Mindorff, who is the owner and operator of Station One Coffee House. And he is here to talk about his journey with Democracy. As many people know, Democracy Coffee Shop on Locke Street. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So starting off, can you just tell us about your coffee journey and how it all started?
Yeah, we opened up Station One Coffee House in Grimsby as with the intention on creating a community hub. You know, there wasn't anything in the community for people to kind of meet up and have a coffee or what have you, and spend time together. And we opened it with a set of partners who had actually owned and started Democracy at the same time. Yeah, so it was back in 2013. It was something my wife and I were passionate about, and supporting the local community, providing good coffee and drinks. So that's how it all started.
Nice. And so I know that you mentioned Democracy, and you just recently bought Democracy, and you've really made it its own character. Was that by design? What were your intentions, and how did you come up with the flow? Because before it was quite a little bit confusing, and you've made it much better. Do you have a background in design, or do you just have an instinct?
Oh, well, it's kind of a couple things. We had been running Station One, since 2000. And so we had learned a lot about, customer flow, what customers expect, how to run things efficiently. And, the folks who are running Democracy were our old partners, and good folks, but obviously didn't have the benefit of all of that operational experience. That was part of it. That was a big part of it. The second part is my general manager in Station One actually had a design background. So we kind of collaborated together and say, what can we do? What have we learned? And how could we make this place even better? Because it was doing very well. And we just sort of, wanted to take it to the next level and make it even better for the community.
Yeah, I just loved how you just even made the checkout just different. It was very effective just as a customer's perspective. So, I mean, a big conversational topic, and especially probably has hit your industry, are the tariff shocks that people have met. How have tariffs impacted your business, and how have you pivoted against it, if you can at all?
Well, the impact hasn't been that bad, because part of what we do as a local coffee house is we've always tried to source locally anyway. And so we kind of like are a little downstream to the extent that our local suppliers have been impacted. It's sort of flown through to us a little bit. Some things like equipment, like, a coffee pot, used to, they look simple, but, they used to cost $600. Now they cost $1,000, and they're harder to get. So that's sort of been the biggest piece, but generally speaking, it hasn't been too bad.
That's great to hear, because I know that my coffee has just skyrocketed. It's gone up about 35%. So I was wondering if your coffee, but if it's local, that's great.
The coffee itself is not a function of tariffs. Unfortunately, it's really, there's just huge increase in international demand for coffee. So there's more people on the planet in Asia, drinking coffee, for example, and the crops are at record lows. In some, like Brazil's had its worst crops in years. And so there's a sort of a supply demand thing that has resulted in the price of coffee almost doubling.
So it's just been coincidental. It's not.
Yeah, it's not due to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What's a hidden challenge that nobody mentions that either during COVID or even more recently that has been a really negative impact, would you say, on your business?
I think there's a bit of employee fatigue in the industry. Hospitality, for some folks hasn't been a great career path. And so when I'm looking to grow the business, I'm looking to create career paths for talented people who want to commit to hospitality. And it's very hard to find good people who are willing to sign up for the longer term. So you end up with a bit more turnover than you like. And that has lots of impacts on customer service, on costs and quality and stuff like that. So I would say finding great people. When I find them, I try and treat them very well and pay them very well and what have you. But finding them has been very difficult.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing when we're hiring people. The list is a lot shorter when we put out ads for our music school, which is right beside you guys at Footprints. And it is harder to find better people. We did notice that we had to pivot in terms of expectations of our teachers as well. And I've always been someone who likes to work with employees, as you do as well. And just things like you wouldn't think about, like when our location in Toronto, they wanted us to pay for their TTC. And I was like, you know what? I'll pay for your TTC. The things have changed and that's cool. So you do have to find the good people and also work with them. Would you find that's true? Do you find it's easy or difficult to negotiate with employees? Do you enjoy that side of it?
I do. I like in Station One, for instance, we've had folks who have been with us for 10, 12 years there. In fact, one of our original bakers is now the general manager. So, I think when we find people of good character, good work ethic, want to grow, have the capacity to do more, I got lots of flexibility to create opportunities so I can customize the opportunity for the person in order to move them forward. And that really has paid off in a very stable team. And through COVID, for instance, doing things to make sure that they could still pay their bills and, we could still operate. So, we kind of go to exceptional lengths for exceptional people. And I think that's really paid off.
Yeah, it's the same. We took voice lessons to help
Yeah.
keep our teachers employed just so that they weren't sitting around and losing morale. That's a big one, especially during COVID. Morale was a massive one.
Yeah.
Another popular subject that a lot of businesses and small businesses like to talk about is AI. Have you used any AI tools or any AI through any process of your business at all?
I haven't overtly. I would say they're integrated into some of the tools that we use. So for instance, we allow online ordering. We work with some ordering systems. There's lots of them out there. And we do a lot of social media and all of those tools, leverage, AI. So there isn't anything we're doing specifically other than leveraging those tools, which in turn, are very heavily AI oriented.
I find the same thing. I find it helps with processes, but it's not so much. I can't hand it over to a complete AI bot
Right.
and run the whole business. You still need the human element about it. That's what I love about coffee houses. There is that human element. And have you found that growing both locations that you had good support during COVID and really your regulars stepped up to help you during those tough times?
Yeah, our intention in Station One was to build a kind of a social commerce community hub, where we were supporting local charities and local community groups. And that's sort of been the foundation of the business there. As we moved into democracy, different community, larger city, but we still are trying to do similar things like, building community through things like trivia, come on out and do this, or music nights, or supporting local artists, or we're just trying to find what is that element? Because it's not the same. It doesn't need to be the same, and it needs to be what works for democracy.
Mm.
And we've had some good luck there. We have a solid group of supporters who come out regularly, and we have a solid group that kind of come out during the week. Tends to be more families on the weekend for like brunch and that kind of thing. And they've been a very good support for us since we've been here, and they've welcomed the changes that we made. Although change is hard for everybody. We've generally had very good response from the community.
Nice. That's awesome. So what would you say is the best marketing strategy that you guys have used? Would you say that it would be your event marketing, or is there anything else that you find that's really strong?
I'm a big fan of the social commerce angle, which is, do what you can for the community and the community will come out and, support you in return. It's not a short game. It's not a transactional thing where if I do this, you'll do that. It takes time to develop. It has to be authentic and it aligns with, my values of trying to do what we can for the community and for the staff. And, that's sort of, our Grimsby, like we never thought it'd be as big and successful as it is. And we're so grateful but it seems to have worked that the community wanted that and is responding to that. And we're seeing similar growth here in democracy that the community seems to be responding to that. So the idea of social commerce is really, both aligned to our values, but also been very successful.
Yeah, I find when you give, you get, and we've always had that philosophy by the same token. So one thing that with a coffee house is that there's lots of competition. How do you differentiate yourself from the competition that's fierce around you? And is there anything specific that you consciously do, or do you wait for feedback to react or respond to certain situations?
I think there's like two things. One is we made a commitment from the start that we make everything on site, fresh every day. Like somebody comes in at like 4 o'clock in the morning and starts, and 12
Wow.
o'clock afternoon, they're preparing for the next day. So providing high quality products that are made on site with local ingredients, that's good stuff. It's not something that's been in a freezer, put in an oven, heated up, and put on a plate that somebody made 2 months ago and put in a freezer. That's the first. The second thing is the coffee. We have the called bird friendly, sustainably grown coffee. So it's organic. It's grown in the wild, small batch, micro lots, roasted for us. So you go in the bag of coffee on the shelf is a couple weeks old. It's just been roasted, and the quality of the coffee, I don't think it can be matched. So people will charge you more. There's lots of folks in the coffee business who are charging and make the packages look shiny and tell a good story. But when it comes down to it, the quality of what we're doing and the sustainability of what we're doing is hard to match.
Is the sustainability a driving force of what's important to you as business owners?
Yeah, I think like we try and do as much organic stuff as we can. If we can we got to be viable as well. So in some areas it's not. We go for quality. We can't get the organic product, but we're still going for a quality product. Just because of the price premium, we can't charge $6 for a cookie. People like that's great that it's organic, but I can't afford it. So we have to sort of manage the balance. So we try and do organic, local, and sustainable wherever we can.
Yeah, that's great. And I can attest to your cauliflower wings. I love them so much. The sauce and everything is so good. I've tried almost everything. It does have that freshness, and I think that that's a very great way to entice people in. So, if you were to start your business today from 13 years ago, what is something that you would tell someone who's starting their business? What would be a good whisper to them as a piece of advice that would make them grow strong and as quickly as possible?
There's lots of folks that reach out and ask me about, hey, I'd love to run a coffee shop because whether it's coffee or other business, there's a romantic element of owning your own business. What I would say is having a business background, I knew from the start that scale matters. So being a small coffee house, well, nice and good for the community is really, really hard. So that's scale matters would be the first thing. The second thing is, make sure you got enough cash to get you through your first 2 years of losses, because especially if you're starting something new, it's going to take you time to build yourself in a community. And, a lot of places, they don't they put the sign up, but they run out of money before they open because they didn't really anticipate that they might lose money or that customers wouldn't flock to their store, day one. Cash flow and scale, I think, are probably the two. That's sort of my business background would tell you.
Yeah, I remember doing my business plan, and it did not go according to business plan when I first. And everybody thinks that you're being conservative, but you can be as conservative as possible. But if you don't know the industry, it's going to be really quite challenging, at least from my experience.
And we hedged our bets when we did Station One because we partnered with this couple that were already running the coffee house. And so we didn't have to recreate the wheel in some cases. We basically had an idea of what would work, and then we just had to tweak and optimize. And, we certainly took it to the next level over the subsequent years. But, mitigate your risks, bring in as much experience as you can. You don't have to do it all yourself. There's probably
Yeah,
another piece of
I
advice.
know. Same thing is when we started in 2009, and we noticed the same thing that I opened a location where there was already a music school, and the only reason why that music school left is because the landlord had tripled the rent, and the business owner didn't think it was worth it and moved. I moved into an area that was already successful. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that they think they have to do everything on their own. But if you can partner with people, if you can find a way in that or leverage that somebody else doesn't know, it really does help than starting from scratch and doing
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you very much for joining me. It's a real pleasure to talk to you as always. I just want to say I love Democracy. It's such a great place, and it's great chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. And for everyone listening, we will put the Democracy's website in the show notes so that they can contact you. And thanks again.
Thanks for the opportunity, Alex. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. All right, great.